Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and this time we're joined by Ash Paulson to talk about our hands-on time with the Nintendo Switch and a bunch of games. So, let's get started. Alright, Ash, we've been very busy today.
Yes, the lack of sleep can attest to that.
Yeah. So we'll be straight up. If we go rambling or fall asleep at any point during this, it's because we're both exhausted.
Yes.
And I have like this weird like half sickness thing going on where I don't feel sick, but I'm stuffy. I don't know what's happening to me.
Yeah, then I've just now started randomly shivering, and I think I'm approaching the 24-hour mark with like no sleep or ish or
Minimal,
1 hour of sleep.
yeah.
So I think we're definitely not at our best right now.
Yeah, so if we say anything like really dumb, we're just
Yeah.
gonna blame it on our complete lack of sleep and cognitive function right now.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Ash. So we had our discussion last night on the Switch event. I guess real quick before we get into our impressions, perhaps we should just discuss how we feel about the Switch presentation since then.
Right.
So, do you have any thoughts since we recorded right after we finished working on everything last night?
Yeah, well, I think you and I both were kind of as the afterglow of mainly the Zelda trailer,
Right.
I think kind of wore off, and the reality of what is actually a pretty lacking launch lineup for the Switch set in. I think we weren't completely taken in by the hype because we gave it a B+ last night.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm not sure if it even deserves that. Really, once we've seen what the actual Switch launch lineup is, it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, I think there was some. It's funny, for as much as I praised their messaging with the Switch earlier,
Right.
now they're kind of muddying the messages in some ways. I feel like,
Yeah.
especially with the launch lineup that wasn't totally clear last night. So I agree. Now that I've had time to actually think about what happened, I've seen the clarification on what exactly is launched. What's coming later. Yeah, I'm not feeling quite as good as I was before about the event. I still think they had some of the best trailers I've seen for Mario and Zelda.
Totally.
Fantastic. But the thing is, if you remove those trailers, there's not a lot else there.
Right. I mean, and as we understand it, the launch lineup officially includes Zelda 1-2 Switch, Super Bomberman R, and Skylanders Imaginators, and that is it for day one. And then there's a smattering of smaller titles throughout March, and then we got Mario Kart in April, and then Splatoon in summer. And when you look at it in kind of that macro level, you very quickly begin to see that this looks a lot like the Wii U's lineup, or in terms of that touch and go AAA releases, and in between that, what is there?
That's kind of the scary thing too. This is the one thing we thought couldn't happen for sure, just based on all the games we had heard were in development and presumably are still.
Right.
But we're not quite seeing we're not seeing them all represented here.
Right.
And Nintendo even tweeted out an image today showing their games coming up for the rest of the year. And it's not, granted, it doesn't take into account every game. I'm sure there are other games out there we don't know about yet.
That'll be announced in the interim, yeah.
But the thing is, that's not a very impressive looking image.
No, it's not. And then we, as we got up and got ready for today, we noticed other bits of news had come out, like the pricing for all the different controllers. A Switch Pro controller is $70. A single Joy-Con is $50. A Joy-Con set, $80.
That is excessive.
Nintendo isn't pricing this thing nearly as aggressively as I thought they would. I mean, right before we did this, actually, I did a little quick math, and I put together what I thought was the basic Switch bundle most enthusiasts would want, which is a Switch, Zelda, and a Pro controller. That's about $460 before or after sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
At least California, Los Angeles sales tax, which is it's almost $500.
Yeah.
For this thing, when and I just did a quick Amazon search, you can get a PS4 Slim or an Xbox One S for around $300 or $250, and that comes with a game and 500% more storage space. Now, we love Nintendo. We're going to be there day one anyway. That's not where we're not. Zelda looks awesome, Mario looks awesome. We're excited, but when you kind of take into account the general consumer and they try to compare the two, how does Nintendo compete?
Yeah.
With this pricing, honestly.
I mean, well, yeah, the appeal of the Switch obviously is the fact it's a portable and a console.
Right.
So the problem is that for that to be worthwhile, you need games to back that up.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what's lacking a little bit right now. So
right.
I mean, I'm hoping there's a lot more to come. There were a fair amount of third-party games we saw at the event today.
Right.
But a lot of them weren't exactly huge, AAA games.
Exactly.
And by that, I mean there weren't really any AAA third-party games.
Yeah, I mean, Street Fighter 2's cool.
Yeah.
But is it a system seller? No, I don't think it is. I mean, Bomberman's really cool. I'm glad it's back. Is it a system seller? I don't think it is.
Right.
And Disgaea 5, again, that's already available on other consoles. I just this is kind of a conversation I didn't think we'd be having right now about not that we're not excited for the Switch, not that we didn't enjoy what we played today, but that we're a little uncertain of how it's going to, how we're going to do.
I think that's it. Like, once everything set in, like I said last night, I think something along the lines of, like, you can pick this thing to death, and that's kind of like what we're doing to some degree now.
Right.
But it's more that, I think they are more than just nitpicks now. Like, it's setting in, like, I was taking each one in isolation last night, whereas now I'm seeing the whole picture. I'm like, oh, okay, this picture's not quite as good as I thought it might have been.
Right.
But, it's still early, there's still stuff we need, there's still stuff to be announced, I'm sure. Let's go ahead and talk about what we do know, and that is the fact that everything we saw today.
Right.
So before we dive into the games, of course, the biggest thing is the fact we actually played the Switch itself.
Yes.
In a variety of ways.
Yeah.
We played on the TV, we played on the Switch itself, we swapped between them ourselves, we played with JoyCons, we played with Pro Controllers, we played with the JoyCons in various configurations.
Tabletop mode.
Yeah. I played with the Joy-Con in a Mario Kart wheel.
Right. Yeah, and then we played it with holding the Joy-Cons vertically for arms, right? You hold it like it's in your fist, so you can hold those things in so many different ways, and they're so versatile. They
really are. Okay, so let's specifically the hardware in general.
Sure.
What do you think of the Switch? Are you impressed by what it is?
Yes, in general I am. I think it's really cool just how, again, versatile it is. There's so many different ways that you can configure and play it with various games, and I think that's really cool. And the portable aspect, it's light, it's sleek. This is a piece of tech from Nintendo that doesn't look like a Nintendo system.
Yeah.
It looks like a more modern, sleek piece of technology, and I love it. I love the way it looks, the form factor, the weight, it's super light, and that screen. I know people have been talking about 720p. I don't care. That screen looks great.
No, it looks great.
Love that screen.
It looks... the videos you're going to see from most outlets, I'm guessing, including ours, I mean, for sure, like, any off-screen video doesn't show the full picture. Like, that Jimmy Fallon video, for instance, from a few months ago, or a month ago, whatever, it doesn't do the screen justice. It looks great in person.
Yeah, it really does, and, like, I can't stress that enough. Like, this may have started off a little negative in terms of how we feel the Switch might do down the road, but in terms of the actual tech here and playing it today, we're excited. Like, we loved it. I can't wait to own one myself. That screen is so great, and the snap you hear when you slide the Joy-Cons into place is absolutely, it feels right. It sounds right. It feels good. The click, it just feels nice.
So they had a few different setups based on like how you might play the Switch in real life. So they had like a mock-up of a plane, where you could so you're sitting in actual plane seats. They had out the window, like you can see clouds.
That was so cool, and I mean, that was a total proof of concept moment for me. Like, and I even said that back during the initial reveal trailer that I thought that looked cool. And actually sitting there, because I played Mario Kart 8 in Deluxe in tabletop mode in a mock plane seat, and I'm like, I could totally see myself doing this in real life. Like, the Joy-Cons detach from the console, and they're light, and you can just hold them however you want. And it's really cool. Like, in terms of of all the neat little things the Switch can do, and all the cool little ways you can play it, totally, I love it. I think it's really neat that it's so versatile.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of ways to play, and we'll get into that with all the games we played, which almost all of them played in a slightly different way.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah. I will say this one thing, and I don't want I don't want to say it, but I don't want people to put too much weight onto this. But I did notice the Joy-Cons, I felt like almost... There was a contrast between them and the screen itself. I felt like almost like the Joy-Cons felt a little bit cheaper compared to... I don't know, did you notice that at all? Like,
I didn't actually.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I actually really liked the Joy-Cons. Even when unattached from the Switch, I actually really... I liked how they like paperweights. You barely even feel them.
That's true. I mean, and as a perk, that's a good thing. Yeah. It just felt like they felt a little bit hollow to me as compared to the screen itself, which is glossy.
Yeah,
and glass.
I understand that.
Yeah. So not a big deal. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it because it really isn't that big of a deal. But I just thought I'd throw it out there.
No, that's fair. I mean, and the other thing I would say about the Joy-Cons is interesting. When I was playing Splatoon 2 on the Switch console itself, I hated the placement of the right stick.
Yep, I'm with you.
I kept having to like knuckle the right stick with the knuckle of my thumb. Whereas in other configurations though, like when I'm playing with the Joy-Cons with a grip or just unattached, it was fine. I had no problem with it.
I had the exact same thing. Yeah, when you're using controllers either separate or any configuration separate from the device itself, from the Switch, they feel great. The control sticks are easily accessible. Actually, there's one more point I'll bring up in a sec, but yeah, when you're playing on the Switch itself, because of the way you have to hold the system, you have to like support the weight of that system.
Right.
You can reach a right stick easily.
Yeah.
And for Splatoon or for any game that uses it, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Now, luckily in Splatoon, you can use motion controls, and they still work great.
Yeah.
And I also play played. Wait, I can't remember. Did we play? No, I'm thinking of Breath of the Wild, where you could use the JoyCons as motion sensors as well, and that worked great in that game too.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, like JoyCons work great. Only slight thing that did surprise me at first was I didn't realize the travel distance on those Joy-Con control sticks isn't very far.
It isn't actually. Yeah, I noticed that too, and I also noticed that using the face buttons on the left Joy-Con as a makeshift D-pad sucks. Like, straight up, if you play any game that needs a D-pad, you have to get a Switch Pro controller. It's just not.
But to be fair, how many games need D-pads? Not
well, right now, not many. But I mean, already I could see purists like Ultra Street Fighter 2
right.
aren't going to want to play
that's
it,
true.
And we were playing that with a Pro controller, and I think there's a reason why.
Good point.
So, yeah, I mean, there are little things here and there, but on the whole, I really like the Switch hardware.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree. Like, it's almost not entirely fair to bring up. I mean, it is. We should bring up those points.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, no matter what, there are going to be compromises when you're making a portable device.
Right.
And I would say it's relatively, like, they did a good job with the compromises, I feel like. I mean, the 3DS is compromises. I'd rather use a actual stick than a circle pad.
Exactly.
And actually, well, quick question. How do you think the Joy-Con control sticks stack up to the circle pad?
I actually like them more. They're proper control sticks and not. I always found, even with my 3DS now, I find that my thumb will slip off the circle pad in like particularly intense sessions. So yeah, having a stick that you can actually hang your finger on is better than the circle pad in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also I want to mention that the actual switching mechanic works flawlessly. Like. It is kind of like a cool gee whiz moment when you take it out and you see it on your screen, you put it back in, it's on the TV like magic. And it's, yeah.
That's actually why I brought up the airplane thing I was going to mention. I just sat down, like I just clicking them in and out, up and down.
Yeah, and that click, I mean, it sounds so silly to emphasize this, but that click feels exquisite. Like, it feels so satisfying. Nice. I love it.
That's why
it's like popping bubble wrap.
It is, yeah. We posted a whole video on it. It's like, it's probably higher now. It was like 40,000 views last time I checked after a few hours of just showing how it clicks. It is satisfying. There's something satisfying about it. It feels good. Did you have any trouble, though, pulling the Joy-Cons out initially?
A little bit. I had to learn how to do it, and I had to, like, figure out the best way to hold the Switch as I did it to, like, not, twist it in some weird way. And I was always worried about hitting buttons as I was trying to take the Joy-Cons out. But I think that's something that will come. I don't think that's an engineering problem. I just think that's something that will come with practice.
Absolutely. It's just a learning curve. Yeah, so the way it works is, like, there's a small button on either side. You have to depress as you slide the Joy-Cons up to get it out. And then, the sliding in is way easy. You just, like, slide right down, so...
Right, and then, and also, like, when playing Splatoon 2, like, I want to stress that the motion controls for, like, moving the Switch console itself, every bit as good as a Wii U gamepad. I wouldn't say better, but it's every bit as sensitive. Maybe it's better.
Well, yeah, I would say at least in Splatoon, it's at least as good.
Yeah.
In general, I'd say it's better. I didn't have a single case where I had to recalibrate.
Oh, there you go.
Like, none of that...
Actually, I don't think I did either.
Right.
And the other thing, too, is the Switch Pro controller. I think there's a little confusion going on here as to what it actually includes. But to be clear, the Switch Pro controller does include a gyroscope and HD rumble. So I was playing Splatoon 2 with the Pro controller, and I thought it was great. I love the gyro in that.
Yeah.
So I had no problems with the gyro in any of the new controllers. And actually, I'm glad I mentioned that. It was HD rumble. I know you and I maybe differ on this a little bit. I actually think it's the real deal, and I 100% think it feels like night and day between playing, Switch games today and regular Rumble on other systems. I absolutely felt a difference.
See, yeah, I didn't quite... I mean, it might be that's more of a subtle thing, so maybe I didn't play the games that made it stand out as well. I didn't know so big of a difference.
Okay.
I was playing 1-2 Switch.
Okay.
And in that game, like, you're milking cows and doing some other silly activities.
Which I did not play, by the way. I did not get a chance to play that.
So I think, as I recall, you can, like, almost feel the milk coming down as you're milking it, like, go down the controller. You not like, you can feel like the controller rumble and go down. I mean, I noticed it. It was it's a nice improvement, but it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But I'm not one who likes rumble much in general, except when it applies to motion controls. The only thing is there weren't like a ton of applications for it when it comes to motion.
I think my favorite use of it that I played today was in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because I felt like I could feel the finer points of the road.
Yeah.
Compared to playing regular Mario Kart 8, where you get, you know, the general rumble, and it's cool, but I just felt like it for me, accurately recreated that sensation of, like, the tires hitting different bumps.
You have no right to judge Mario Kart 8 in any capacity.
Why is that?
You did not use the Wii wheel.
I didn't.
The Mario Kart 8, the little mini wheel they have for the Joy-Con.
I never used the wheel or motion control, although I will say I did use a little Joy-Con. I was holding it sideways, and the motion controls work well for that, if you like motion controls. You know, for Mario Kart. I don't.
Well, actually, that's a good one. So I was using the wheels. They give me a little bit more of a grip, like it's something to hold on to. How did it feel holding the controller horizontally just by itself?
You know, I mean, I think once I got used to how small it actually is holding it horizontally, I mean, it's like maybe slightly more than half the size of a Wiimote.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's definitely small, but it actually wasn't. I didn't get hand cramps. Right. I didn't find it uncomfortable, and yeah, I was playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and playing pretty well, like, you know, up to my usual standard, and I'm used to playing with a Pro controller, so. I actually have nothing bad to say about using, you know, holding the Joy-Cons horizontally. Like, they're small, but they're not uncomfortable.
They're not. Yeah. I mean, they do look small, like you're holding them, and it's not as bad. It doesn't feel as uncomfortable as you would expect it to.
Right.
So
this whole conversation, by the way, is amazing. They're so, like, the way you could read this conversation is so good. I love it.
I don't know what you mean. I have no idea.
No idea, right? Yeah.
Whatever, we're tired.
You can feel the milk drip down through the Joy-Cons? Yeah.
Oh, you should have. Hey, it's not just us, though. Like, the people, even during the event, like, there's no way they can talk about that game seriously.
It's impossible.
So it's impossible.
Yeah.
All right, well, we talked about the hardware, I think, pretty good for now. Actually, maybe not. Do we want to talk about graphics at all in a general sense, or do we want to say that for the...
I mean, we can talk about it in a general sense, in the sense that, like, the AAA games look nice. Like, Splatoon 2 looks great, and Zelda looks great, but it doesn't look like anything necessarily beyond what we saw on Wii U. I mean, now, it's also very early days. I don't doubt that later on in the Switch's life cycle, we'll see games that go beyond what the Wii U could do. But as it stands, like, Splatoon 2 didn't look worlds beyond how Splatoon 1 looked. It looked like Splatoon, but with new stuff.
I mean, the games look good. Like, I thought
they look fine.
They look good. But yeah, they're not. It's not like a 9-day thing from what we've seen before.
Right.
However, there are, even without that, there are some nice improvements. Like, we learned while playing Mario Kart 8, that game now runs at 1080p, 60 frames per second.
Right.
Flawlessly.
And apparently, even when you're playing 3 or 4 player split screen, no longer does it drop to 30 frames. It stays 60. So, you know, I think we'll see kind of more quality of life, you know, updates like that for existing titles, and then maybe later on in the Switch's console life is when we'll really see what the Switch can do visually, like what kind of graphics it can really push.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we can just start diving into the games.
All right.
Which one do you want to talk about, Ash? Wow, that sounded weird.
I mean, we can just talk about myself. I can just talk about me. That's fine. Well, you know what? Let's. I think a lot of people are going to want to hear about Zelda. That's the big thing. Yeah. You know, first. So let's just get that out of the way.
Well, the irony there is that it's the portion we could play was literally the exact same Wii U demo, except now on the Switch.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like the good thing is, like, it felt pretty much the same. Like, there was no real tangible differences I noticed.
Yeah.
Except playing with the Joy-Cons, I thought worked fine. Like, the motion controls work great. Like, you can aim the bow and arrow or your scope or whatever, the Sheikah Slate flawlessly. So.
Yeah, I played with the Joy-Con grip, and I really liked it. I actually thought it was a really comfortable way to play the game. I liked it a lot more than the Wii U gamepad and playing that at E3. Now, of course, I never got to play the Wii U version with the Pro controller, so I might have been perfectly happy with that. But, I mean, yeah, playing with the Joy-Con grip, I really liked it. And yeah, I mean, everything, all the functions are easily accessible. It feels like a natural fit for the game. Yeah, I mean, Zelda's looking really exciting in general. The only thing I really want to say that I'm concerned about this close to release are some of the frame rate issues that I noticed. And that I noticed that specifically in my own demo, and it seems to only really pop up when you're in areas with lots of blades of grass. Mm-hmm. It seems to be the grass that does it. But, I mean,
too much
5
grass.
minutes, too much grass, yeah, 7.8, too much grass. But I mean, like, in the opening field areas, right after starting the game, I immediately noticed frame stuttering. And I'm like, okay, so this is, you know, we're on the Switch, but it isn't going to make that much of a difference necessarily. Like, now, what we have heard, though, from various sources is it actually runs better on handheld, on the console mode, than it does on the TV at 1080p.
I did see Laura K. Dale at the latest reporting that she had noticed it was running better in handheld mode. I didn't try handheld mode myself for Zelda, so I can't speak if it did or
I did briefly, but not enough to actually, you know, draw a conclusion. Although I want to stress, it doesn't run horribly. Like, generally, it runs very well and it looks great. But there were some, you know, definite frame stuttering issues in certain parts of the game on the Switch version.
Yeah, I will say, like, I'm usually one that's very, like, I know frame drops. Like I noticed that with the Wii U version, I had E3 right away. I didn't really notice during my demo, but also I was extremely tired, and it's entirely possible I just wasn't paying attention.
And you also may have gone, like I said, it only seems to pop up in areas with lots of blades of grass, so you might not have gone to an area where it was a problem.
Yeah, maybe not.
And on the whole, the game is beautiful.
Right.
Like it's not. I'm not at all saying that it's like a bad-looking game or that it runs badly.
Now, beyond the playable portion, they actually did show off more of the game because we couldn't play it ourselves, but you could go up to a different demo, and they would actually play the game for you, showing you one of 3 different areas. I think there's a shrine, a guardian battle, and then taming a horse, basically, or going to the stables. Right.
Yeah.
So I think you saw all 3, right?
I only saw 2. I didn't see the guardian. 2. You saw the
guardian. I saw the guardian. That's
right.
right. Yeah. So what did you think of those?
So the temple demo was kind of dull because it really was just like using the sailcloth to get off the Great Plateau and then like going to a really easy shrine with these really basic wind-based puzzles where you use the sailcloth to glide across pits. And the Nintendo rep who was demoing it for me was very clear in that she's like, yeah, there are these very entry-level easy shrines, but there are also tons of really difficult, involved shrines too. So, that was obviously an early game shrine meant to, be easy.
Right.
Although I did notice there was a treasure chest she couldn't get. Even in that early super easy shrine, she's like, I have to come back and get that later. So I'll be interested to see if there's a way that you can like mark for yourself what shrines you haven't gotten every treasure chest in, because I can imagine with over 100 of those in the game, it could get incredibly difficult to remember which ones you need to go back to, even if you've completed them, to get other stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that was cool. Like, it seemed like there are going to be reasons to go back to shrines that you have already completed to get stuff you couldn't get the first time. But on the whole, I would say that was kind of a dull demo because it was just so basic. But on the other hand, we have this horse taming demo and kind of learning about the stable system, and I thought that was interesting because I didn't previously know that horses all have different stats. Like, they all have different strength, speed, and stamina ratings, and they can all have different bonding levels and natures with links. So you can have a wild horse who's harder to tame, or a gentle one who's easier to. But even more than that, I learned that when you go to a stable, you can register up to 5 horses and board them there, but horses can die. You can ride a horse into battle against a guardian. This is actually an example that the Nintendo rep gave me. You can ride your horse into battle against a guardian, and if your horse gets owned by a crazy laser beam, it dies.
Jeez.
And that's it. You're out of horse.
It's brutal.
And I'm surprised they actually went there. And it makes me wonder if you do end up getting Epona in the game. I wonder if she'll be immune to that somehow. Like, obviously Epona can't die, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that surprised me though.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's even sadder because wasn't the horse named Andre or something?
No, that horse didn't die, fortunately.
Okay,
no horse has died in my demo. She was just telling me that the possibility exists.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But no, I thought it'd be a fun shout out to name the horse Andre. I thought that'd be pretty fun, and so I thought that'd get a few good laughs out of our viewers.
So, speaking of the horses, so the demo I saw was also getting a wild horse, but this time using it to engage in a guardian battle. So one thing about the horses too is before you tame them, like, they're actively fighting you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's harder to control, and you can try to calm them down as you're riding.
Right.
But even then, like, until you get it to the stable, you won't be able. Like, they'll always fight you to some degree, is my understanding.
Right. And I think when they're trying to buck you off, you lose stamina. And if your stamina runs out, then you'll be thrown off, and you actually take damage.
I see.
So there is a kind of a risk reward, like a danger proposition to taming a wild horse, which I think is kind of cool.
No, I like it. Like, I love any risk versus reward type thing, right?
Yeah.
So in our case, speaking of risk versus reward, so you can see it in our video. The guy demoing it for us. Like, we encountered the Guardian, and I think we tried shooting some arrows at it. I can't remember. Everything's blurring together now. But I do remember asking him, "Hey, can you take off one of their limbs or their tentacles?" And he's like, "Hey, well, let's try it." And then he runs up and gets killed instantly. Ends the demo. I'm like, God damn, I shouldn't have asked him that because now I can't see it anymore. Yeah. But I love, like, I'm just loving everything I see in this game. Like, the more I see of it, the more I want to play it. The trailer, again, we've gone on and on. I mean, I think those trailers last night, those 2 trailers, Zelda and Mario, like, were so impressive that they largely overshadowed some of the failings, or maybe not failings, but
shortcomings.
There we go.
The rest of the No, I completely agree. I mean, I am so absolutely hyped for Zelda. I mean, it's obviously a system seller for me. Like, I would get a Switch for that in a second. Even if I'm already getting a Switch, but it really, that trailer hit all the right notes for me. It proved to me, or showed me, that there are heavier story elements in this game than I once thought there might be.
Right.
So it seems like there's going to be environmental storytelling, and probably like 80% that, but that there are also going to be some pretty heavy-handed story moments with cutscenes. Yep. So I am so hyped for Zelda.
Oh, man,
it hurts.
It's amazing. It's funny how, like, for as lacking as the launch lineup seems to be so far,
right,
they do have this one seemingly stellar title.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out here.
Actually, one more thing about Zelda that I thought was pretty cool is that so for some reason, I guess because I'm so tired, when I played my kind of same E3 demo, I was playing and I completely forgot that there's a chest in the area where Link wakes up that has his equipment and his clothes. So I'm just like an idiot running out, just going exploring, and Link's still naked. I don't have a weapon. I eventually found a tree branch that let me do like a little damage to one bokoblin, but essentially I was playing on hard mode without even realizing that I did that. But I think it's cool that you can, because, like A Link to the Past, you brought up this example, it would, like, go out of its way to force you to get the lantern if you missed it the first time. Whereas, you don't get, like, a forced little, oh, Link, don't go out, you need to get your trap. No, they'll let you. The game will let you go play yourself if you want.
You're naked if you want. You can be
and so you can go play on hard mode if you want and just send naked out with nothing but, well, not even a shirt in his back. You just, yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about Splatoon 2 real quick.
Yeah.
Now, you weren't the biggest Splatoon player.
Right.
So
I liked it. I just never really got into it.
So is Splatoon 2 doing anything to convince you otherwise? Based on, we should clarify, Nintendo wants us to mention this.
Yeah.
It's a demo version of Splatoon 2.
A demo version,
not the proper game, the whole game. So
I don't know why we need to specify that, but
when they're all demos, really, but.
It's funny. I mean, coming away from it, and of course, this is, there was no Smash here, so it's easy to say this, but out of everything I played today, Splatoon 2 is what made the most the lasting impression on me. Yeah. I really like playing that game with a Pro Controller. I'm absolutely shocked and delighted by how just elegantly Splatoon's control scheme just kind of works on a regular controller. Right? Like it doesn't feel clunky. It doesn't feel like, oh, this used to be for the Wii U gamepad, which had a screen. No, it feels natural.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a great time with it too. We tried what's the new weapon called?
They're called the Splat Dualies.
Those are a blast.
Awesome. Yeah. A blast. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. They really are. Like, they let you do dodge rolls, which is for the first time ever in Splatoon, you can do dodge rolls, and I think they're my new favorite weapon type. Like, easily, not even close.
You're forgetting the coolest part about them, though, is that when you use your special, it turns into a hover pack, and you can fly around and shoot from the sky.
It's just like the FLUDD in Super Mario Sunshine. I just had to go.
All right, I'm out.
You're out? Yeah.
Jump out the window now.
I really liked all the new specials I saw. The jetpack special was cool. I did use the Splat Charger for one match, which I shouldn't have because I'm awful with it, and it had a different special, but I have nothing bad. I mean, why would I have anything bad to say about Splatoon? It is Splatoon, but it's just more of it and new stuff, and
the only slight concern I have, and it's mostly a function of me just being so used to how the Wii U one worked, is the fact they don't have that persistent map now. Like, it's always on the gamepad, and it's not often I will praise the gamepad.
I know.
In this case, it actually worked. It made sense. So now the map's not displayed on screen constantly.
Right.
So instead you need to tap X, was it, I think, or Y?
Y, I think.
Okay, and then the map comes on screen, at which point you can actually use the gyro controls to move a cursor on the screen to, if you want to super jump or squid jump somewhere.
Yeah.
You highlight the character you want to squid jump to, and then just press A, and then you squid jump there.
And alternately, you can actually use the D-pad or the D-pad on the Pro Controller or the face button on the left Joy-Con to actually select a teammate to warp to instantly. It sounds much more complicated than we're making it.
It is.
Once you get used to it, it's a very seamless. You just bring up the map and do it. But I think it's a pretty elegant solution, but obviously it's not perfect. What could have been perfect for that?
Right.
Now, as someone who's not as good at Splatoon and probably was never as good at the game as you are, I didn't find the lack of a map to be a problem. I guess because I'm a more casual Splatoon player anyway, I'm just kind of like, I'm just trying to cover turf anyway. I'm not trying to shoot anybody because I'm so bad at that. I didn't mind the lack of a map, at least a persistent map. I felt like I was able to bring it up whenever I wanted, and it didn't hinder my skill at all or my performance at all.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone's on the same page, I mean, it won't be that big of a problem, but that game is all about territory control.
Yeah.
So knowing which territory to go to at just a glance was helpful. So, but I'm really excited by what I saw. It was fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play more Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's touch on Mario Kart 8 again real quick because, well, there isn't actually a ton to say about it because when it comes to racing, it's all the same as far as we know so far.
Yeah, we don't know if there are going to be any new regular racetracks.
Yeah.
At first, it seemed like there weren't going to be, but toward the end of the day, I started asking some Nintendo reps, and I noticed that the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe demo they have there, or whatever version of the game it is, it very specifically doesn't let you see any of the track selection screens. So that makes me think there's a chance that there's stuff they're not talking about yet.
I really hope so. I'm hoping that they're holding back on the final push of announcements when they reveal this.
And I asked a Nintendo rep about it, and she said we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's not a hard no. Maybe there are a couple more cups coming. We don't know. But for what it's worth, I really enjoyed battle mode. Like it absolutely captured the vibe of that classic battle mode for me. I like balloon battle, and I know you and I differ on this. I enjoyed the bomb blast too.
I mean, it's the kind of thing I might need to play more of. It's funny because I loved, maybe not loved, but I had a really good time with the bomb blast in Double Dash.
Double Dash, yeah.
So the fact that it returns, you would think, would be a huge selling point for me. But there was just something that felt off to me about the bomb distances. Like I felt like I had really a lot of trouble landing those hits, and it might be because I was exhausted.
Sure.
Couldn't play games. But yeah, I liked the battle mode in general. I thought was fun. So for the demo, when you restart battle mode, it was random whether you got the bomb blast or an actual battle mode. We finally got battle mode, and I enjoyed it. We only did one match of it, plus a couple of bomb blasts.
Yeah, I mean, and of course it was just the two of us playing with 6 CPUs. I can easily see that recapturing that same just wildly fun, house party vibe that you would get 8 people in the same room playing battle mode, I think, or even online, would be really fun. So I'm really happy to see battle mode is back the way it's supposed to be. My only question is, why wasn't in the game like this to begin with?
Yep.
How did they think that battle mode, driving around regular tracks, was going to be?
Oh, they knew a deluxe edition was coming. That's why. Yeah,
exactly. But and I have to, this could be placebo, but I have to say I think the upscaling to 1080p actually I could tell this was already a great looking game on Wii U, and it looks even better here, and you can notice it as long as you have a 1080p screen, of course.
Yeah. Well, I think we should mention, I think it's being rendered at 1080p. It's not being upscaled.
You're right. Sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't say upscale. It is actually being natively rendered at 1080p now on the Switch.
According to Nintendo.
According to Nintendo, which is evidence that the Switch actually is more powerful, even if you're not quite seeing that borne out in the graphics themselves in a lot of games.
Yeah, they look good. Look great. So I want to try more battle. It's fun.
Yeah. So. No, I'm looking forward to playing more. I don't know about it being $60. I don't. I wish there was an upgrade option.
Yeah.
$40 maybe for current Mario Kart 8 owners. I just feel like there's not enough new there yet.
It is a bit rough to double dip if there are no new Grand Prix tracks.
Yeah.
Especially since, not everyone likes battle.
Right.
Battle's fun, but
although maybe I misspoke. It might be $50. I can't remember. It could be $50. But either way, that's still a little high.
I agree. Yeah. We're talking basically full game price. So.
Basically, yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to, I guess we'll touch on one that I played. I don't think you did, though.
I didn't.
1-2 Switch.
Right.
So this is one that I thought it actually looked kind of fun in the presentation. Like I like the idea of it. It reminded me of that PS4 Joust game I mentioned. I forget the full name of the game. And I thought it's a unique idea where you're basically playing a game independent of the TV or the Switch screen.
Right.
It's more about the controllers, and that's where the HD Rumble kind of shines as well. So the 3 games I tried were Quick Draw, the cow milking game, and then a dance game.
Okay.
Where you pose, and then the second player has to match your pose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it being fun, but it sounds like maybe quite...
It's a kind of, obviously it's, you're doing whole body poses, but the game only judges based on the controller, of course, right?
Right.
So it has that bit of disconnect there. So I have to say, I was hoping I would like this game more than I did. I can't see, I see what they're going for, but based on the 3 games I played, I can't ever see bringing this out at a party or something.
Really?
Yo, you want to go milk virtual cows?
Yeah, I don't really know who they're aiming for with 1-2 Switch. It's hard to tell what market they're trying to capture, because I feel like it doesn't really capture that Nintendo Land / Wii Sports vibe at all.
It doesn't.
But it's not something that's going to appeal to the hardcore crowd either.
I mean, the weird thing is too, because in between games or even during games, they have live action humans on the screen. They actually record the people, so it almost reminds me of a full motion video game.
That's weird. I didn't know. Okay.
It's very different from it's so Nintendo and unlike Nintendo at the same time.
Right. Now is that a full retail game too, like $60?
I don't know.
Or okay.
I'm not sure.
Because I just wonder. Yeah, I wonder who they're really trying to capture with that.
That can't be a full retail game.
It can't be,
if
right?
If it is, it would have to come with an accessory, but there'd be no point because you already have the Switches, or the JoyCons rather. So I need to play more of that game. I don't want to condemn it yet. Like, I didn't hate it. It's just I don't see myself playing it much based on what I saw.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But maybe there's more. Maybe there's more interesting ideas. And like, quick draw is exactly what it is. Like, Kirby's Kirby Superstar had a quick draw game.
Yeah.
And I like that because it was fun with Kirby characters.
It has Kirby.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like
right.
it's got Kirby and
It's a
King
side
Dedede
mode,
and
All right, well, let's move on to. Oh, you know what? We should touch ARMS.
Yeah.
That for me. That was maybe not surprised because I really liked the presentation yesterday, but surprisingly enjoyable. I really had fun with that game.
That was the biggest surprise for me because I didn't get to see as much of this presentation because we were all just scrambling.
Right.
So I didn't really see as much of that as you did yesterday or last night. And so I was kind of going into it relatively fresh, and I gotta say I had a good time. I was impressed by how much depth there seems to be.
Yeah.
Depth that you can't really get into in a crowded demo area, but it does seem like the controls are very nuanced. Whether you choose to go with motion controls or button controls, which has also been confirmed that you can use.
So yeah, because we played with 2 JoyCons.
Right.
So what it is basically, it's Wii Sports Boxing just greatly elaborated on.
Yeah.
There's more to it. And your punches go much farther.
Yeah, and when we say more to it, we really mean like you can jump, you can dodge roll, so it's really is a lot more. It's a much more robust game.
So with your robot game, because they're robots, right? Or,
Not all.
I guess
there's one in a mecha suit.
Yeah,
that reminds me of Diva from Overwatch. Actually, in general, the whole vibe of the game and the visual style and character designs so Overwatch. Like that had to be on purpose. That had to be intentional. It looks so Overwatchy. Not in a bad way. I'm praising it for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So beyond like the dodging and the jumping, the way you move with the Joy-Cons at least is you want to move left or right, you tilt back left and right with the Joy-Cons both to the left or to the right, and the same thing for forward and back movement too. I think right.
You tilt them forward and back,
which is something I don't think I actually ever did.
Right.
I was just punching. But one of my favorite things though is when you punch, you can then tilt the Joy-Con, and that dictates whether it curves to the left or curves to the right, kind of like bowling, for instance. And I thought that was a really clever way. Like, you could punch both inward, so your fists crisscross almost.
Right. And I found the I guess the visceral aspect of the hits, like they felt visceral. It felt great to land a combo of hits, and it was actually you and I playing against each other, and we got into it because it really felt like like we had to find openings, and I had the hardest time getting in on you for a long time, and then I found a way around your punches, and pulling off combos and things really feels cool because you're actually at least when you're playing with motion controls, you're really in it.
Right.
But I also noticed that I was probably doing way more than I needed to, and I was getting frustrated because it can often feel like things go south very quickly, and you're getting hit a lot, and you're trying to move, and the controllers aren't necessarily responding the way you think they should, and I'm not saying they're not responding correctly, but when you're dealing with motion controls, you're automatically dealing with a sense of disconnect there. When you're not quite sure if everything's going to go the way you want it to. And I at least noticed that when I was trying to move left or right by tilting the Joy-Cons, I didn't feel like I was always getting what I wanted. Now, that could have been my fault. I might have, I got so into it and I was just scrambling that I was probably holding the controller the wrong way.
Right.
So it may be my fault.
Yeah, I didn't have too much trouble with the movement itself from the portions I use, being left and right. But there is a disconnect only in the sense that not every punch you make is necessarily reflected, because if you're being grabbed, for instance, you can't punch, or if you have a punch extending, you can't punch again. But it's kind of human nature to start flailing around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the first character I played as, which was the I can't remember, but it was Ninjara, I like the name. So I played as Ninjara, and that his combo attack or special attack is like a flurry of punches, and like E Honda. And I went all into it. I was I was sweating by the end of it. And you don't need to do that much, but it's one of those games where it's like you can't help but get pulled into just the wackiness of just actually moving your body,
No, it was fun. I want to play more of that game. I want to see more. I want to see what all that one has to offer.
Yeah, I left ARMS thinking I really want to see more of this game, and I didn't expect that. I love the character designs. It just had a certain vibe to it that I really liked.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much depth there really is there. But
me too.
In fact, that's maybe just one of the issues with the demo is there are a lot of controls to get used to. And we didn't have too much time to
I would say in general that ARMS has a high learning curve.
It does.
The Nintendo rep who was demoing it for us said it's really easy to pick up and hard to master. I'm like, no, I actually think it's kind of hard to pick up and hard to master. So it does seem like there could be some depth here for someone who wants a high learning curve game.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Well, I guess we can move on to some of the third-party games we saw.
Sure.
We didn't see them all because we're starting running out of time at this point, but we saw a decent amount.
Yeah.
So I guess we can start with, Ultra Street Fighter 2.
We just came from a fighting game, so we might as well keep it in the fighting.
Exactly,
yeah.
right?
So, yeah, you and I played a match against each other, and then I played another match with a Nintendo rep in the other visual mode. So there's the classic pixelated visual mode that looks like the original Super Street Fighter 2, and then there's the HD mode with redrawn character graphics. And, you know, I think I like the classic mode a little more in terms, I guess, just because of my old school, you know. But it's Street Fighter. It's Street Fighter 2 with 2 new characters. I mean, it's like, it's kind of wacky to see Capcom revisiting Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and adding 2 new characters to what is ostensibly like a 20-year-old, 25-year-old game or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't off the top of my head, but it's Street Fighter. It plays exactly like you think it does. It's fun. What else is there? What do you? It's
well, you covered it. Like I'm not a huge Street Fighter guy.
I mean,
so.
you know, what else can I say? If you love Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, it is that game on the Switch. It felt great on the Pro Controller. I would never want to play it with the JoyCons because you don't have a D-pad. Like that seems to be the kind of game where you have to have a Switch Pro Controller for it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they only had the game playable with the Pro Controller. Yeah. So I liked it. If you like Street Fighter Classic, you'll love this, I think.
Does that apply to Super Bomberman R? If you like Bomberman, will you like Super Bomberman R?
That's a little harder to say. I mean, it does capture... I mean, first of all, I just want to say, how cool is it to see Bomberman alive?
Who expect... Right?
Bomberman lives. That's awesome.
Yeah. Who expected another game from Konami?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. On the other hand... I mean, it felt and played like an incredibly low-budget title. I mean, we're talking low-res graphics, 30 frames per second. Like, it's an ugly game. I'm sorry, I got to put it up there. It is an ugly game. I mean, it's got, like, the Mighty No. 9-esque pizza explosions and everything.
Man.
Like, it's not a good-looking game. On the other hand, it does capture that Bomberman gameplay, and it captures that vibe. Like, it's not this Bomberman Act Zero nonsense. Like, the characters are cute. They're very, chibi and anime. Every different colored Bomberman has a different personality. Like, it's a very cute game.
Yeah.
It captures the Bomberman vibe, and I mean, I think when you get 8 players playing classic multiplayer, regardless of how bad it looks visually, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, I think the Bomberman essence is there. I just wish, there's no excuse for this game looking as bad as it does visually. But... at the end of the day, as long as it's fun, that's what matters most.
Yep.
And I think it was fun.
Yeah, that's good. I wish I had a chance to play that one.
Yeah, you did. You were, yeah.
Unfortunately, when the controllers dropped out, they couldn't get it back in time.
Right,
so.
right.
All right, and then you also tried Disgaea 5.
Right, which I know almost nothing about. I typically don't play a lot of strategy RPGs. I'm familiar with Disgaea. I played the first one. It was just, honestly, it was the first game I saw when I walked in, and it didn't have anyone on it. I'm like, okay, this will be a good chance for me to get acquainted with the system. And I mean, if you're a Disgaea fan, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be excited for this. It's Disgaea 5, but on Switch. I'm not as familiar with the different editions of Disgaea 5 to know if it's like the best one, but from what the rep told me, I think it is like the definitive, complete edition of Disgaea 5. So, for what that is worth, if you're a Disgaea fan, I had no problems playing it on Switch.
I mean, that pretty much wraps up how I feel on Sonic Mania.
Right.
Playing on Switch. Like, it felt fine. It was Sonic Mania on Switch.
Right.
And you mentioned something to me, interestingly, or you asked me how it felt playing with the Joy-Con on its side, right? Right. And I had to think about it because I knew I was, but it didn't occur to me consciously.
Right.
Which kind of tells you it was fine. Like, it wasn't a problem. I had no problem playing the game with the Joy-Con controller on its side.
Okay,
it's
cool.
Maybe a little bit small, but felt fine. Of course, you don't have the thing you lack though is a D-pad. You have to use a control stick, but it was fine.
Yeah, but it was cool just to get your impressions because Derek and I and Tom have actually all played tons of Sonic Mania by now, but you hadn't played it at all, so you had a chance to sit down with it and you seemed like you had a good time. But it's Sonic, it's classic Sonic, but it's a new game for classic Sonic. So,
exactly right.
The only other thing we almost forgot, I think, is Puyo Puyo Tetris, which you played.
Oh, that's right.
And I did not.
Yeah, I mean, it's what. How can you go wrong with Puyo Puyo, or however you say it, and Tetris? I mean, that's a great combination.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I actually have... so many friends have told me you've got to get into Puyo Puyo. I haven't because I'm not a big puzzle game guy, but maybe this is time to try it.
You never played Kirby's Avalanche back in the day?
I played a little bit of it, but
honestly,
really the only puzzle game that's ever stuck with me that I've been obsessed with is Tetris Attack. I adore that game, and please bring it back. Bring Panel de Pon or Puzzle Challenge, Puzzle League, however you need to get that game on Switch, bring it to Switch, because I love that game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. So, I mean, not too much to say, but it worked. It worked perfectly. So that seems like a great game to, if to play when you're on the go. I mean, I play on the TV, that's fine too.
Right.
But that's a perfect pick up and play game whenever you're out of the house. So.
And actually, I think that's what, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think to me the most, I guess if I look at everything as a whole, what's really impressive about the Switch, even if it doesn't look that much better than the Wii U, whatever, the fact, when I was playing the tabletop mode of Mario Kart 8, I'm playing Mario Kart 8, this beautiful game that I could only play on Wii U before. on a handheld, essentially. And I mean, that I think is the truest representation of what the Switch's power is and why it's impressive. Because, I mean, even if it doesn't look that much better than Wii U at its max settings, you're playing Mario Kart 8 on a portable.
And Mario Kart 8 was a beautiful looking game. Exactly.
And I mean, we've got Smash coming later. We can be
presumably,
yeah. So, I mean, I think that's really impressive that they got, a powerful enough innards in this thing to play Mario Kart 8, running at 60 frames per second on 720p on the go.
It is cool. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, a lot of people are going to compare it to Xbox One, PS4, PS4 Pro, Scorpio. Right. But if you take it on its own, like, this is more than a generational step above the 3DS. Like, this is
it's
massive.
It's more than a generational step above the Vita, I would say. Like,
yeah, I'd agree with
really,
that.
In terms of this being a handheld system, we've never seen something this advanced in a traditional video game handheld.
I mean, the fact that you can play games that are somewhat passable as like current generation games, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, we're not really just like super graphics whores, but to me, like, I always thought that the best looking Wii U games could stand toe to toe with like good looking PS4 and Xbox One games. Like, obviously there's a huge disconnect between Mario Kart 8 and like Uncharted 4, obviously. But I mean, it's not like Mario Kart 8 looks bad compared to Uncharted. It just looks different and obviously lower res, but it's not like, I never thought Wii U games looked bad.
I'm not even sure if it's even lower
res.
It's
not lower. I shouldn't say lower res. I should say it's like lower, not fidelity, but the graphical style. Like, obviously the textures aren't as rich and aren't as detailed, but it's a different style. But my point being, I never thought Wii U games were ugly, and I thought they passed as current generation console games as well. And the fact that we're now playing them in handheld form, that's pretty cool.
It is really cool. I mean, it is neat. Like, I'm excited for this in general. Like, again, playing Breath of the Wild like on the go, even though I'll prefer to play on the TV, in general, because that's a game I want to play on a big screen. Like, it's cool that if I need to go somewhere, like if I need to take a train, I can just, if I'm stuck in a dungeon, I can take it with me and finish that dungeon on the train. So
yeah, and I mean, and presumably later on, once they have the virtual console stuff fleshed out, I mean, you're gonna have access to these games plus like various classics, and like it's kind of cool, like what they're going for with the Switch, I think. And despite the lacking launch lineup and perhaps the lacking launch window lineup, I think the proof of concept in terms of the fact that you're playing games that look that good on the go is really impressive. And I don't think it's necessarily fair, as you said, to compare it to the PS4 and Xbox One, because they're doing something different. They're not trying to be portable. They're pushing all their horsepower toward giving you the definitive TV experience, and that's cool. That's fine. But I think the Switch is not going for that. So comparing the two directly isn't quite fair.
Right. I like how you said directly there.
Directly, that's true. Yeah.
I guess, did we talk much about tabletop, or did you wrap in the context of how it felt to be playing with a Joy-Con on a
I think I mentioned it briefly during our Mario Kart 8 Deluxe part, but I played with on tabletop mode on a plain tray table, and I'm like, this is cool. Like, I love the idea of having my own Switch, and when I travel, taking it with me. Like, I love the idea of being able to deattach the controllers and hold them however you want and play comfortably. Like, that is really cool to me. Yeah.
The Switch is exciting. Like, it is definitely some exciting things about it.
I think the Switch right now is exciting for what it can be and the potential it holds than the actual games on it right now. Like, I think if Nintendo can really get that launch window lineup and 2017 lineup, fill it out with some really cool games, I think the Switch is really exciting. It's just, right now, I'm a little worried about the not as aggressive price point, or at least not as aggressive as I thought it would be, paired with the expensive controls, paired with the currently lacking lineup of games. But those are things that can be fixed.
Exactly.
So, or at least the game part can be fixed, and if the game library is fleshed out, then the price will make more sense.
Yeah,
the price will look less ominous.
The hardware's solid. Like, the hardware itself is solid. Like, we saw multi-use scenarios today. It seemed to work well in all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the proof would be in trying it ourselves in our own usage case scenarios. But it's extremely promising. Like, I liked what I saw. I
mean, I think the only technical hiccup either of us ever encountered was the one with Bomberman with the controller not syncing. But there was never any problem with...
I don't even know that was even a technical hiccup. Like, I think the guy just wasn't sure how to reconnect in this case.
Right. Yeah. But, like, we never ever encountered, like, the Switch not quite showing up on the TV when you dock it. Like, everything always worked. Like, now, of course, this isn't a controlled environment.
That's true, too.
You never know how it's going to be out in the wild. But if there's one thing we can say about Nintendo... They're very reliably. Their hardware is so reliable. You never buy a piece of Nintendo hardware that doesn't work as advertised.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty confident that these things are going to work really well.
So I guess real quick before we wrap it up, how did you feel about the game lineup they had for us to play in general?
It's a little lacking.
Yeah.
It was lacking. I mean, especially because the playable demo of Zelda was the E3 demo. We couldn't play any new content of Zelda.
Yeah, that was a bit of a
So
bummer.
that didn't really even feel like a new game because we were just playing what we played at E3. And then Splatoon 2, I mean, it's more Splatoon. And I have no problem with that. And it was probably my favorite game there, what I got to play today. But it's just more Splatoon. Yeah. And then we have Mario Kart 8, which is more Mario Kart. So it didn't really feel... And we have Street Fighter 2. Like, we had a lot of games that we've already played before, but not necessarily anything new. Now, of course, I say that, but I'm such a hypocrite. If they had Smash there, they would have played just like Smash Wii U, and I'd be all Smash, I'm so excited! So, I'm a hypocrite. But, I thought it was lacking. What about you?
I'd agree with that. I think overall, I was expecting a little bit more of the game lineup they had here. I mean, of course, no Mario. How could I not be disappointed by not being able to play Mario?
It would have been nice. I wish. That's obviously going to be E3, and that's fine. But I really wish they at least would have had like a small demo for Mario for us to play, because that game looks so good.
E3 is where things are going to get real. I feel like that'll be 2 months, 3 months out from launch.
Right.
That's when we need to see what's coming.
I think that's going to be reckoning day for Switch. I mean, I don't want to be too hard on the Switch's lacking launch lineup, because that's a problem that a lot of consoles have. Yeah. Almost every new console suffers from kind of an anemic launch lineup, and that's it sucks, but that comes with the part and parcel with it.
Yep.
On the other hand, if E3 gets here and they don't come out of the gate with guns blazing and show us this amazing lineup of Switch games coming for the next year, that would be a problem. I think really Switch is going to be make or break on E3, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I'm excited to see what else is coming down the line. So, there are some very promising things here. We need to see how it's going to shake out. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I went in and got my pre-order. So, I mean, I'm obviously very excited. You were obviously big Nintendo fans. I'm just curious to see how the wider gaming public reacts to it.
This is something different, something new. So, I'm very curious to see how it's going to be received. All right, I think that covers it pretty well, Ash. So I think we better wrap it up here before we both pass out.
Seriously.
I'm sure we've already talked enough, just gibberish if it was even comprehensible.
My flight's not even till noon tomorrow, and I'm still probably going to sleep through it. Yeah. It's only 6 p.m. right now. So,
oh my God.
I'm so tired.
It's 3:30 p.m. our normal time.
It's true. Jeez, with the time change.
Oh God, it's been rough.
Yeah, but it's been fun.
It's been very fun. It's been a good time. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's going to keep up to date on everything we post. I can't even talk anymore. My God,
the fatigue is real.
It's real. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on the Switch and other things gaming as well. Catch you later. Bye. All right, man, we talked.